of former President Hosni Mubarak in Egypt's Tahrir Square, calling it the Friday of victory and continuation. The pro-democracy marchers also made it clear that they still have worries about what will happen in the future. One man remains central to that future. Whilst an army council has taken over the short-term running of Egypt, Mohammed el-Baradei, a crucial figure, an inspiring figure, is being proposed by many as the man to lead Egypt to full democracy. Mr. el-Baradei is the former head of the UN's nuclear watchdog and was a long-time critic of Hosni Mubarak. He returned to Egypt at the height of the revolution, and I'm delighted to say he joins me now from his home in Cairo. Dr. Baradei, Mohammed, what is the message? What is it you think that today that ordinary Egyptians want now? There are further demonstrations today. Mubarak and his government have gone and so on. What do people want today in Egypt, or what are they fearful of, perhaps?
Well, Sir David, first it's a pleasure to be with you again. What the Egyptian want today, pure and simple, that not only Mubarak is gone, but the Mubarak regime also has to go. And they feel apprehensive, David, that the regime is still there, that all what they were looking for has not really been implemented. The Mubarak government is still there. The old constitution is just going through patchwork. We still have an emergency law. We still have a ban on rights to establish parties. People are still detained. So they feel that there is somehow an effort to derail the revolution and just change Mubarak, but keep the old regime. And that's why you have 3 million people today in the Tahrir Square saying, well, we need to see our overall objectives, which is a second republic, if you like, being put into place.
And therefore, the role of the army at this point should be exactly what? Should it stay where it is now until it hands over power can be handed over? Or should the army take more of a back seat now, or more of a front seat? What should the army be doing now?
Well, I think the army basic role should to protect this infant shift to democracy, Sir David. They, in my view, should be co-partners, if not taking the back seat. They should give the front seat to those who made the revolution, the Egyptian people. The Egyptian people would like to see a new government that represent the new face of Egypt. They would like to see that the emergency law is lifted. They would like to be able to establish parties. They would like to see that the transitional period is extended. Now the army is talking about 3 to 6 months, which is too short for people, the silent majority, if you like, to organize, establish parties, engage with the people. If you rush into an election, the only people who will benefit from that is the organized groups, which is the old ruling party reincarnated, and the Muslim Brotherhood. And with all due respect, you need to give an opportunity to the 80% of the Egyptians who have never been involved in politics to be heard and to participate in a truly representative democracy. The army so far, Sir David, has been very opaque. We don't know what is the roadmap. We don't know what is the timeline. And I've been saying for the last few days, and supported, as you can see, by just about every Egyptian, that the army need to come out of the barracks and speak to the people and tell them, we have heard what you want. We are going to work with you as partners, and we will give you the front seat. I mean, I don't, for example, understand that the head of the army, the Minister of Defense, has appointed himself the de facto president. I have been calling, for example, for a presidential council, a couple of civilians to join with somebody from the army. So to show that we are really making a true shift from a dictatorship, from an authoritarian regime to the beginning of a democratic system. And you cannot just run that whole transition through the army that periodically just come every other day with a terse statement saying we are going to do this or that without anybody understanding the big picture and where we are heading.
And what should happen? You were saying 3 to 6 months is too short a period to lead to a properly run election. How long would it take to have a properly run election? And how would the country be run during that 6 months to a year while the election takes place?
Well, as you know very well, Sir David, that fair and free election is not the whole of democracy. Democracy is also building an institution, building parties, and the last part of the democratic process is to go to the ballot box. And just to go to the ballot box without having in place the infrastructure, it might be free and fair, but it will not be representative. I think we should not rush. We should have at least a year. The country would be run by an undertaker government, that is representative of maybe technocrats, that has the credibility of the people, people with experience. The army will continue to support, undergird, if you like, the new government. They should be part of the presidential council. So it is not difficult. It will be to run the country and go back to a period of transition, but a period of stability. And this is the first time, David, when something like that happened in the Arab world. We never had a revolution here for 1,000 years, possibly. And as you can see, the major impact in the whole of the Arab world, it's a tsunami as I see it. And we want to make it right, because if we make it right here in Egypt, it will be made right in every other part of the Arab world. And Egypt would then be the locomotive that will bring the Arab world, the Muslim world, if you like, to stability, to modernity and moderation. So it's a unique chance, and we should make sure that it will not be derailed in any way.
And in terms of the next moves, really that government you were mentioning should, as it were, be just overlooking the period of up until the election and so on, and would in a sense be the referee, the umpire of the rules for the new constitution and so on, would they?
Yeah, right. I think what we need, for example, is a provisional constitution. This is a revolution. We would have a constitutional declaration that will work through the transitional period until we have a constituent assembly to write a new democratic constitution. As I mentioned, David, what they have right now is patchwork with the old constitution, which had nothing to do with a democracy. So they need to, again, send a message to the people. And that's really a very important psychological factor. They want to send the message to the people, I mean the army, that we are moving, completely separating from the old regime to a new regime. We need a rupture with the old regime. And what the people feel right now, that this is sort of a cosmetic change, and we still see the old faces.